We hold these truths to be self-evident that Black women deserve to be treated as equals, because working twice as hard is literally killing us. No, no. See, I'll take the soft life over an early grave any day. Black women take heed, for it is in prioritizing our well-being that we can truly live abundantly and break the age-old habit of putting everyone else before ourselves. We shall no longer give into the toxicity of the strong Black woman narrative. Multiple streams of peace. That is our new mantra. Let's heal through centering ourselves. Let's resist through centering ourselves. Let's grow through centering ourselves. And let's display self-love through centering ourselves. You, divine queen, have every right to center yourself.
Welcome to MJ and the Word podcast.
I am MJ McConnor.
And I'm the Word, BJ Word to be exact. And we are welcoming you to a space of spoken word, unspoken issues, and collective healing. Ladies, let's roll.
That's it right there.
God.
Collective healing, that's the key.
That's what it is. As if I have to say it, okay, but obviously our topic for today is centering ourselves. Girl, you brought that. You brought that. I'm like almost in tears. That's the depth of your words.
Thank you for that. You know what inspired it? I think just having lived this myself and then seeing countless Black women. I mean, we are just working ourselves to the bone, and we put ourselves on the back burner all the time. We're always looking out for everybody else. Oh, let me make sure my family's good, make sure work is prioritized. And we always put ourselves last. Not always, but oftentimes we do that. And so I just felt like, you know what? Now I'm gonna speak on some of this, like this whole working twice as hard and and you know, all the other stuff that it's been so ingrained in us, like, oh, you have to do this. It's like, no, you can put yourself first. You can take a rest.
Exactly. And I feel you not wanting to use the absolutes of always, never, whatever, but I'm gonna go with always, MJ. It's like we always are putting ourselves last and on the back burner. And there is some type of guilt with taking that time that comes along with taking the time that you need for yourself. And this goes across the board, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a wife, if you're single, if you're a single mom, if you have kids, you're single with no kids. We all do it. It's like we've bought into some type of narrative that burned out, overwhelmed, stressed out, dragged, okay, doing everything for everybody else somehow means that you are the best mother, the best daughter, the best woman, she just runs herself crazy for everybody else. That is not an award I want.
No, not at all. And you know what I think it is? You kind of touch on this a little bit, but a lot of it is like this generational like teachings that we've been handed down. And somebody said that, I can't think of her name. I know our former colleague of ours, she mentioned this to me that, you know, I'm gonna go here. Ever since Black women were brought to the US, our job has always been to look out for everybody else. And I was like, we going there? Okay, we going there. And when she went there, I was like, it's so true though. When you think about it, it goes back decades and generations of just this whole narrative of having to prioritize everyone else's needs. And like, I just reached a point where I was like, you know what? No, it's okay to rest. And I think a lot of us are finally seeing the importance of rest, because if we don't, guess what? Our bodies will tell us when it's time. It will shut down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And getting a little bit personal, when you talk about that, something that I believe you said to me a few weeks ago was embrace rest. And I had not even thought of it that way. I mean, we're both career women. We both have so much going on. I'm a therapist. I spend the majority of my days telling other people to take care of themselves. Okay. So when it was time for my body to say, you know what, you're a liar because you're a hypocrite because you're sitting up here telling all these other people to take care of themselves. You haven't been doing a good job, so I'm gonna do it for you. I'm gonna shut down for a few days. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna send your blood pressure way up. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna knock you on your back a little bit. And it was difficult for me, even in that, to mentally embrace, okay, BJ, you just need to rest. You just you just gotta rest. So when you said those two words together, like embrace rest, like, okay, I need to just wrap rest like a hug. Like, this is my friend. This is not something that I have to feel guilty about doing or feel frustrated because I have to do, because a lot of us go through that. We get sick
Mm-hmm.
now, because it's the only way we're gonna rest, honey, is when we sick. All right.
That's
And
it.
then we're frustrated because we're sick. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Instead of saying, you know what, let me take this time to figure out what's going on with my mind and my body. Let me figure out how to get back to center, because something is off centered. That's why I'm not feeling well. Right.
Yeah.
And literally, Mary, MJ, I was in the ER. I had to go to the ER because my blood pressure had gotten that high. I took my laptop with me so that I could work.
Wow. Did you really?
I
Oh
did.
my
I
goodness.
did.
Your laptop
And
PR. BJ.
took my laptop, my
Yeah.
folders, everything to the ER. And because I figured I was gonna have to wait for a while, so I'm like, let me take something to do. And the ER people weren't going. It didn't work out like that. They were like, no, ma'am, I just need you to lay in the bed and not do anything. And my brother was there with me, and I literally said to him, I don't have time for this.
Mm.
I don't have time to be sick right now. How crazy is that? Like, what?
That's
Sis, what you mean? What do you mean? And thank God for him. He saw me with the backpack, but when we got he got in the back, he just took it, put it aside, and put his jacket on top of it. So I couldn't. I was too out of it to even try to do anything. But just that mindset that I have to keep going, I have to keep going, I have to keep going. I think it is killing so many Black women in a multitude of ways, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally. It's killing us to
it.
have this mindset of that I can't stop.
Yeah, it literally is. And I was reading an article the other day about different, health conditions that we experience in comparison to some of our, counterparts. I mean, you talked about high blood pressure, heart issues, you name it, stress. Let's talk about stress for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
Fast. So I'll just give a personal example too. When the COVID-19 pandemic started, that was stressful for a lot of people. And I
Right.
think it's especially stressful for people who had caregiver responsibilities in
Yes.
addition to having work and all the other stuff.
Yes.
So for me, I respond to stress by working harder, believe it or not.
Mm.
Kind of something you touched on a little bit when you talked about taking your laptop to the hospital.
Yep. Talk
I
right
respond
there.
to stress like, okay, let me keep going, don't lose momentum. And it just makes it worse. And then I'm a stress eater too. So I gained like 30 pounds in between 2020 and now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
me too. Me too.
yeah, and I mean, but it's interesting. I don't know if other people respond that way when they're like stressed and feeling anxious. It's almost like you have to prove to yourself, like, okay, I can overcome this. So let me keep working hard to
Ooh.
push this fear and this stress and anxiety out of the way. And I'm just gonna keep going. And it's almost like how they say if you go to the top of a building, you can get over your fear of heights. So I'm like,
Right.
let me get over my fear of stress by taking on more, even though I'm already stressed. It was just this weird toxic cycle that I
Mhm.
couldn't break. And finally, I realized that I had this habit of taking on more
Mhm.
as like I'm trying to prove something to myself
Right.
or overcome it. So hopefully that made sense. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting
yeah. Because
how to
the
navigate.
question is, why? Why are we in this mode where we feel? Because I believe a lot of women identify with that. That definitely kicked me in my stomach when you said it. Okay, feeling like I gotta prove something to me. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do this. I can do. Well, sis, what if you can't?
Yeah.
What if I just can't right now? What does that say? Does that mean that I'm less of a woman? Does that mean that does it speak to my character? Or what does that just say? I'm a human being occupying the space right now of being unable to do something. that's part of the human condition, is having times where you're just not able to do something. So what is this innate thing in us? And is it innate or is it taught?
It
To
is.
where we feel like I've got to prove to myself that no matter what, with, okay, I was at 178 over 120. Anybody listening to this or watching it on our YouTube audience knows that this right on top of stroke level, right? Okay, so when you hit 180 over 120 with your blood pressure, they consider you to be like in crisis for a stroke. So
Yeah.
that's where I was. What is that driving force for us to be there, for us to be having a fever of 103, for us
Mm.
to, have a terrible sinus infection, for us to be so stressed out and so overwhelmed, and instead of being able to say, maybe all of this is trying to tell me something,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
that I need to sit down and chill out, we interpret that as, no, it means that you need to work harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that is a narrative that we've accepted. I feel like it's age old. And oh, I'm gonna go right here. All right. Because when we do that, who is it benefiting? Was that something that was taught to us by the people that's gonna benefit from us constantly working like that? Seriously now, where did it really come from? Okay, I know a lot of this, our mothers taught it to us, but somebody taught it to them. So, and somebody told it to their mother. So, how far back can we go where this was something that was told to you? Oh, you're so strong. You can overcome this.
Come
You
on
can keep
now.
going. You can keep doing it. Of course, says the person that needs you to keep doing it.
And you touched on, I want to go here. I talked about it in the piece I just read. That strong Black woman narrative. I'm gonna tell you right now. I do not like the strong Black woman narrative for this
Two
very
thumbs
reason.
down. Do not recommend.
Exactly. Because it normalizes this idea that we have to always be, strong all the time, working all the time. And I just think there is so much toxicity in this idea that we cannot take a break, or that we cannot let our guard down from time to time, or that we just can't rest. And so I actually presented at a conference, NASPA conference. For people who don't work in higher education, NASPA is specifically for student affairs professionals. And I had a chance to co-present with some other Black women scholars in higher ed, and we talked specifically about the toxicity of the strong Black woman narrative for that very reason. And
Yes.
just how like the superhero like not complex, but like the superhero expectations that are placed on us, like, oh, she's here to be this nurturing motherly figure, she's here to the rescue. And it's like, nah, I need to talk too, I'm feeling
Right.
like overwhelmed too, so it's
Right.
just the expectations that are placed on us. It's not always reciprocated, like who's looking out for
Right.
our being, and it has to be us.
Exactly. And then too, if we can get out of that, it won't always have to be us. Because you touched on two things. You said, it's an expectation, but then you also use the word complex. And I totally agree. I call it superwoman syndrome, because it's something that we have absolutely internalized. It's not just the expectation, it's also something that we feel like we have to live up to,
Yeah.
And so we go out here and we do it. And the truth of the matter is, part of centering ourselves is learning who and what our significance is as just a human being on this earth, a God created being taking up space. Period.
Yeah.
I'm a human being, not a human doing. So,
Love
part
that.
of centering me has got to be me unlearning,
Mhm.
okay, and retraining a lot of my own thoughts, checking my own thoughts and my own background, my own mental history, and accepting the idea that I'm still just as great, I'm still just as amazing, I'm still just as awesome if I'm sitting my ass over here on the couch resting, or if I'm out here doing a million things for you. I'm still the same. So I think that is something that a lot of us have got. We got to get to the source of that internally first, right? Because that's part of the centering, is realizing that a woman's significance is not wrapped up just in being an awesome, amazing wife. her significance is not just in being a mother. Because when you start to think my significance is totally wrapped up in my children, then you're going to be that mom that's going to 5 extracurricular activities because you
Mhm.
feel guilty, instead of just saying, hey, you pick one and you pick one, and that's all we're doing this semester. Okay. There are so many women spreading themselves thin. Okay. I heard a line in the movie that said, like butter scraped off too much bread. Okay. They are spreading themselves thin. We are, because we, a lot of times, I believe we have our significance attached to the wrong things. We
Yes.
have it attached to external stuff instead of attached to who we are internally. I'm just great because God made me, period. And that's
Mhm.
okay. So that doesn't change if I'm laying in the ER and I can't respond to your freaking email. Okay? I'm
And
still me.
sis, you touched on so many things. And you know what? Something that my dad used to say to me all the time just came to mind. And he talked about, you teach people how to treat you, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because when we tell people, when we set that expectation, like, hey, look, it's time for me to look out for me. I need rest. I need a break. I need to take that opportunity to do some self-reflection, meditation, whatever it is. Then you know what? Other people, either they get on board or get off. If they not with, if you have somebody in your life who does not understand the importance of you centering yourself and looking out for your own well-being, and they're like, well, no, you need to do this, then bye. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I feel about
Mm-hmm.
it. That's another thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for people that I used to work with, and if they see this new you, I guess you could say, for people
Mm-hmm.
who don't typically center themselves, they may not be receptive to it. They might be like, well, you always used to be a workhorse and you always used to do this. Now all of a sudden you change in and you become a diva or you become
Okay.
like this Madonna. Like, well, who do you think you are? You may have some of that. And you know what? You just say, it is what it is. Like, I have to take this opportunity to look out for myself, because at the end of the day, nobody will look out for you the way you look out for you and the way God looks out for you.
Absolutely.
So there are going to be people around you who may not be receptive to you finally taking that initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Look out for you first.
You know why though? Because it puts responsibility back on them.
Mm,
So now, when let's talk just for a second about corporate America and whatever that looks like for people. Okay, so
mhm.
let me explain this. You can be working in any type of job. We're gonna just call all of it corporate America.
Okay.
Okay, wherever you work. Okay, it's because a lot of times the private sector, the nonprofit, it still has a very corporate America feel. All
Sure.
right, so let's not sugarcoat it. Okay, because of the work expectation that's put on you, but when you start to center yourself and you start to say, not gonna be able to give y'all 120% anymore. Because let's just
Mm,
be honest, Black women usually don't show up and give 100%. No, 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 no. We're gonna show up and give you 120. We're gonna
mm,
give you 150. We're gonna give you all that we have, and a lot of times, a lot of stuff that we don't have, we'll make it and bring it. When we start saying, no, I'm not gonna do that. It's 10 people on this team. That means I'm gonna bring 10% of the work. When we start doing that, you know what that means for those other 9 people? I mean, they gotta step up and they gotta get to work. And
yeah.
so that's why I believe there is that issue or that pushback that you get from folks, especially in the workforce, but it may even be in your own home. When you have to start to reteach people, you have to start to first accept responsibility. My bad. I taught y'all the wrong lesson about me. And
Mhm.
now I need to teach y'all a different lesson because I cannot function under that anymore. Um, it's where the rubber meets the road, and it's where you are going to either be really accepted for who you are or you're going to be rejected. Because some people are going to have a problem with the fact that you're not doing everything that you used to do, which means now they got to do their part. But
Yeah.
there is no, like I said, earlier, there I don't want the award for doing other people's work. Why?
Mm.
I don't want that.
Because I
What?
mean, and you brought up a good point too, like in terms of, one of the things about taking the opportunity to look at yourself and say, okay, am I doing right by myself? when you do right by yourself, then it's like, you know what, maybe I'm not doing right by others by being an enabler either. If I'm always doing the work and pulling the weight and trying to look out for everybody else, am I really doing other people favors?
Right.
So, you
Yes.
kind of look at it from that perspective too. Like by looking out for myself, I'm actually also looking out for others as well, because
Right.
I'm not operating on an empty tank anymore like I used to, because I'm trying to be all things. And then secondly, they're learning valuable skills and lessons. You can do it too. Like we're all doing this as a collective. It's not just going to be the burden placed on us any longer. So I think
Right.
that's important.
I think you hit on some good stuff there. And one of the things you were talking about was trying to be all things. And
Mhm.
I can remember at the point in my life when I was struggling with clinical depression, just bad. I mean, really, really bad. You would never have been able to tell that by my work ethic. You wouldn't
Yeah.
have been able to tell it by my presence at church. You would not have been able to tell it by my volunteer efforts, okay? Because I was still running at 120% all the time, trying to
Mhm.
be all things to all people and feeling some kind of way when I didn't have anyone there for me, and a lot of times we say that, but if you nobody walks up to Superwoman and asks her if she need help. She look like she got it to me, so why would I do that? And at my core, because this was a problem even for me in dating relationships, when I look back over the types of relationships that I was in with men, girl was not centered at all. I was, was totally off balance because I was carrying that same mindset of if I just do all of the things, then I'm going to seem nice. I'm going to seem, agreeable. I'm going to seem like I'm submitted, and I'm going to seem like the star student, and all across the board. If I just do everything that is asked of me and do a lot of things that are not asking me, and make sure that everybody is taken care of. Meanwhile, I am suffering. I am struggling. The other person is really not doing well because I'm enabling them. Okay,
Mhm.
this is not a relationship because we ain't relating. I'm just, it's really a mentorship. Okay, it's really charity work on my part, right? And at the end of the day, I had to get to the core of what was going on the inside of me. And this is not everybody's issue, but I know some people can identify with having the need to be needed. And
Mhm.
I think that
Mhm.
that's something that is prevalent amongst a lot of Black women. Like, get to the core of, do you have a need for people to need you?
That's it.
Do you have a need? Is that why you're enabling folks? Is because you need people to be able to lean on you? And if that's true, why does it have to be based on what you're doing? Again, instead of just being based on who you are. So I think part of centering is just saying, you know what? I'm enough.
Mhm.
Just me, just my personality, just me going out hanging out with this guy, and I'm laughing and he laughing and we're enjoying each other's company. I am enough. I don't have to turn around and now try to make sure that I do all of these things and buy him something and do this and plan this and go over here and do that, just because my presence is enough. And I think a lot of us don't have the self-worth that we post POST on social media to have.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Because when you have that, it's easier for you to get back to center when you're off center, because you, part of that is realizing, you know what, I'm enough. The
Mhm.
work I do at work is enough. I don't have to bring my, okay, this was just a few weeks ago, y'all. This is something that, MJ and I are working through our issues, right? While we helping other
That's
people.
right.
I don't have to bring my laptop in the freaking ER because my work ethic stands for itself when I'm there, you know?
Exactly.
And if y'all can't exist without me while I go take care of my health, then this is not an organization, it's a cult, and I need to get out. Okay. So that's something that we all have to accept, is that whatever organization you're part of, whatever entity you're part of, even if it's your family, they can and they will survive without you.
Mm.
Okay. You may be a needed entity there, but let that just be because of the love that you provide, the emotional support that you provide, just who you are as a woman, not because you do 50,000 things.
Love that. Yeah. You know what? And one thing you said that I didn't necessarily think about before we started talking is how centering yourself is tied into self worth. And I mean, for I guess now I'm thinking about it like, oh, Yeah, ding, light bulb going off. Like, yes, it's very much a correlation between the two. And one thing I would add for people who are thinking like, okay, well, how can I start centering myself, become more focused on me? You got to learn to love being alone. Like at some point, like if you're always, you have to be around people at all times, you have to be serving people at all times, helping people, then you're never going to really get to know who you are, right? Like you have to learn to love your own company. And
Oh,
that's
sis.
something yeah, and I'm an only child, so that's always been a little bit easier for me, I'll be honest. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm in my room talking to myself, playing with my dolls, whatever, growing up. But I think a lot of people, they don't realize that they don't always enjoy time with themselves, or just saying,
Mm,
let me just meditate. Let me go for this walk alone, out in the park or wherever you want to go, because there are people who always have to be around other people. And I always felt like, well, how can you really get to know who
mm,
you are,
that's good.
what you value, like your identity, if
That's
you
good.
never really have time to center yourself and just be at peace with
By
being
yourself.
by yourself? Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
That is
Exactly.
so good. That is so important. Something that you said reminded me of something that I say often to people in terms of mental health.
Hmm.
The inside of your mind should feel like home. The
Oh,
inside of your mind should
yeah.
feel like a safe space. And it's not a safe space for everybody. And I'm not even talking about people who, just people who struggle with mental illness. I've walked that road, so I understand that battle. But I'm just talking about just in general. For a
Hmm.
lot of folks, silence is maddening.
Yeah.
And some of us are so mean to ourselves internally that the inside of our mind, it is not home. It doesn't
Mhm.
feel at home. It doesn't feel at peace. It doesn't feel comforting. It's your best friend ain't in here for a lot of us. Okay. And I forgot, some people can't see us. I'm tapping my head, y'all. Okay. So the inside of your everybody's best friend is not on the inside of their mind, and it should be. It
Mhm.
absolutely should be. And for a lot of us, it's not. And so that's why some people are always around other folks. And let me make something clear. You talked about having that time alone. Y'all, if you are having your quote unquote alone time and you are scrolling on Facebook, you are not by yourself.
Yeah, social media, that we could do a whole podcast episode on the
Yes.
distractions that come with that, and just constantly bombarded. Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
on Instagram, if you're on Twitter and TikTok, you have invited a trillion, that's my favorite word, okay? You have invited a trillion strangers into your space,
Uh-huh.
into your life. You have invited all of their opinions, okay, in. Now you're having conversations, whether you want to or not. It doesn't matter if you post something, or it doesn't matter if you make a comment. You're still conversing with all of these different people because you're reading all of their thoughts. Okay, that is not alone time, sis. So if that's all that you can do to be alone, I need you to go back to the drawing board, okay? Because alone time means you actually sitting and thinking about what you're thinking about.
Hmm.
Pay
Hmm.
attention to your own thought process, your own patterns. That's how I learned that I had a need to be needed, was
Mm.
learn sitting down thinking about, okay, what's going on the inside of my own mind. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, do I always have to, like you said, why am I always got to be serving? I'm serving in a million different areas. Why?
yeah.
And some of these thoughts, these things that we have been taught, and I know we're gonna go into this in another episode, and I can't wait. But some of these things that have been ingrained in us about basically being slaves, basically volunteering to death, or that it somehow, makes you closer to God if you, serve in 50 areas at the church, and you're not as close to Him if you're sitting at home, just sitting in His presence. Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But going down that path, starting to try to figure out, unravel my own ball of yarn in my in my head to figure out what are my thoughts,
Yeah.
where is this coming from, Are you the type of person that daydreams a lot? Do you feel like you always got to escape from the present moment? Are
Mhm.
you do you always think in the future? Okay, that's anxiety. Are you living in the past too much? Do you
Mhm.
have a problem staying in the moment? Sometimes people, you're neurodivergent.
Mhm.
Sometimes people cannot even, they don't know that because they're just chugging along, pressing through, pressing through, pressing through, pressing through. When if you spend that time by yourself, you don't pay attention to the fact that your thoughts are jumping all over the place. That's why I'm about to go get the test.
Right.
Because
That's
I'm like,
right.
I'm noticing some things about me. But how are you going to notice those things about yourself? How can you self-correct? How can you self-improve? How can you get to a place where you feel better if you're not paying attention to where you are right now? And you're not going to be able to pay attention to that until you're spending that time alone, like you said.
Mhm.
It's so
Exactly.
important.
It is. And you know what? One thing I thought about too, as we were talking, like even for people who aren't into like yoga and, even if you're not spiritual, I mean, it's so much we can learn from those different practices. And like, I know
Mm-hmm.
certain cultures focus a lot on like just being still, like meditation and just clearing your thoughts. And I know for me, I ain't even gonna hold you up. Y'all, I struggle with yoga and I struggle with anything where I have to sit and just clear my mind. But with practice and time, you can really, it's almost like a muscle. You learn how to work it. Like,
Yeah.
so you start out saying, okay, I'm gonna focus and just be at peace and clear my mind for 1 minute today. And then
Mm-hmm.
build it up 2 minutes, and then you could
Yeah.
be meditating for a whole hour. But I just feel like, some of the different things we can learn from these different practices that are essentially, when you think about it, yoga is focused on kind of centering yourself because
Yeah.
you hear the instructor saying like clear your mind,
Mm-hmm.
don't think about anything else, remove all distractions. So you are focused on you in that very moment. So I
Yeah.
think it's so many different ways we can do it. We don't always think about like how can we center ourselves. And
Right.
it's so many examples out there and people doing it. It's just we have to stop long enough to say, oh, okay, let me start doing this.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And for those that are listening, this is something that really can be done. Don't overthink it. Okay.
Right.
I know all my fellow Virgos just went, what you mean? Yeah, don't overthink it, y'all. That's what we do. Don't overthink it. This is something that can be done for 10 minutes in your office. Okay. If you're in a cubicle and you don't have a private space, get up and go sit in your car. Just don't turn the radio on. A lot of times, even when I'm driving, of course, I can't close my eyes and I can't fully meditate, but a lot of times when I'm driving, I don't turn on any music. I'll
Mm.
just drive all the way home. One time I drove all the way from Memphis to Atlanta, and without even trying, I had not turned on any music, no podcast, no
Was that
no radio at all.
a
And that's a
6 hour
good
drive? That's
the whole
impressive. I'm
drive.
impressed.
And it was just me being alone with my thoughts. And
Mhm.
it wasn't a moment where I was able to clear my mind, of course, because you stay focused on the road and all of that. But I was able to just really pay attention to what I'm thinking about. I was able to check some of my negative thoughts, some of my fears, some of my, these thoughts of doom and gloom that sometimes come. These thoughts that I have to, if I'm not doing it, it's not gonna get done right.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, ladies. That's a trap. Okay,
Yeah. I
that's a
used
trap.
to I used to have
That
that
is a trap. Somebody else can do it, sis.
to do it.
Yes, they can. All right. It may not be exactly as you would want it, but have some flexibility. Okay, somebody else can do it. And so I was able to challenge those thoughts of, I've got to be in control of this, or it's gonna mess up and it's gonna be terrible. No, I was able to challenge that thinking of perfectionism. You know what I'm saying? Of it's got to be perfect. No, it doesn't. It just got to be good enough. It don't have to be perfect. All of that was part of this journey that I'm on of centering myself, and so being able to just spend those moments without the radio, without social media, without, TV going or whatever. It's just something that do it whenever you can. You know what I'm saying? If you can't make it to a yoga class, you can't, because sometimes we end up overthinking things and we procrastinate. So you sit up here and going too far, thinking about which is the best app that you need to download so you can start meditating. Just start with what you got. Okay, you may not have an app. You may just have 10 minutes in your office to shut the door and just not look at any emails, not respond to anybody, and where you just sit at your desk and close your eyes and just have a moment to yourself. Some of us need to start centering. You can't even go that far as meditating. You're not even stopping for lunch. You're not even eating.
Come on, or using PTO. Can we go there? Use the PTO.
Let's go there. Let's go there. You're not even using your sick days.
Yeah.
You're not using your PTO that you earned. You're just working yourself to pieces. So, sit in the car. If you know the kids are in the house, don't get the garage yet. They sit out in the driveway. They're not looking out there. They're on their devices. Okay. So sit out there for a few minutes. And so it's something that you got to figure out how to do. And it's always best to start somewhere, start in an imperfect place instead of never starting in a perfect place. Okay, right. Waiting on the situation to be perfect and before you get started on it. Just start with what you have and where you are.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I think it's important too. We kind of talked about others as well and how they can like kind of help, you center yourself. I mean, if you have siblings, if you have a spouse, if you have children, get them on board too. Like, look, I'm about to, go sit outside for 10 minutes and, I'm gonna make this a daily habit. After a while, your kids will be like, hey, you didn't go sit outside for 10 minutes today. Like they'll hold you accountable. Like you're not taking care of yourself like you're supposed to, or you're not centering yourself. So I think that's another thing too, when you bring people on board, like, hey, look, going back to you teach people how to treat you. Mm-hmm. Also teach people like, okay, this is a part of my habit. This is a part of who I am now. This is my identity.
Yes.
And I'm prioritizing this. And so, people see that and they'll respond to it accordingly. Like, okay, all right, well, we're on board. And like I said, the people who aren't on board, okay, whatever. But the people who truly support you will get it. And they will hold you accountable and help you along the way on that journey.
Yes, they will. It is so interesting how people put so much, blame off on, and disclaimer, I don't have any children, but people put so much off on my kids. When kids can be taught anything, like they are sponges. And if you teach them, hey, I need you to look at this timer and for 5 minutes, don't come in here. Okay, when the timer goes off, that's the real itty bitty ones. You can teach them that. I mean, I used to teach pre-K. I know that you can teach children to sit down and be quiet. You absolutely can. I used to do it all the time. So, I know it may be difficult depending on people's situations, but it's not impossible. So you can teach those around you, that this is who I am as a person, because believe it or not, you taught them what they're doing right now. That's what we don't want to accept. You taught them that you were the person that's never going to take any time for yourself. You taught that to your boss. When you accepted those phone calls, okay, I'm guilty. You accepted those phone calls or that text message at 2 a.m. and you responded. You got up and sent that email at 6 a.m. and you don't start work until 8:30. When you took on two, 3 different projects without saying anything and not doing, when you sat up there and you work your 40 hours a week and you come home and you cook all the meals and you do everything for the kids and you make sure the house is clean and you never say anything about it. You don't ask anybody to help you. You don't set any standards or any goals. You are teaching them. You taught them that I am Superwoman. I can do all of this and I will do it all. And so many of us, we do that and we hold it in until we end up either exploding or imploding, okay? Or we get to a place where we got a bad attitude, now we're mean and nobody knows why. And it's really not that sis is a mean, awful person. Sis is overwhelmed. She's overwhelmed. She's stressed out. And so if you taught them through this long journey how to treat you and it's not beneficial, then you can teach them something else. So that's just something that you got to accept. You taught the kids to do whatever they're doing, so you can teach them to do something different.
Yeah,
you know?
I wholeheartedly agree. And you talked about unlearning too, and that's just as important. Like you learn certain habits and skills, and you learn certain behaviors. You can unlearn it too. I mean, it's a
Absolutely.
process, but you can.
Absolutely. You absolutely can. And you said something in your spoken word piece that was so profound. Just a couple of words when you said resist by centering ourselves. That
Mhm.
is part of the resistance is saying I'm rejecting these thoughts and these
Yep,
behaviors that are really not serving me. It's part of
exactly.
saying, that part of that resistance is, you know what, okay, I bought into this and I realized that this is not what I want to do. This
Mm,
is not working out for me. I'm too stressed out. I'm not happy. My health is really not good. I need to go in a different direction. That is part of the resistance, is
mhm,
standing up and saying, yeah, this is the way that it's been done for many years. This is the way that it's expected of me, but I'm
mhm.
doing something else. And
Exactly.
I just wholeheartedly believe that starts with self. It starts with rejecting and resisting that urge to continue going down a path that does not serve you just because that's what you're used to doing. You got to start that internally.
Yep, I totally agree. And I'll tell you, like for me, just talking to you right now, this has been really therapeutic almost. I know technically, you are not, this is
Right,
not any,
right,
I know you have the disclaimer, like I am not giving any therapy
right,
session
right.
on doing this. But just having this conversation and thinking about, how we can best support each other too as Black women to make sure we're looking out for ourselves and each other to say and remind each other like make sure you look out for yourself. So it's like rest, take time to do something that brings you joy, focus on you as well. And so for me it's good having this conversation because it does serve as a reminder like, yeah, you know
Yeah.
what, we're talking about it for other people, but I got to make sure I'm living this too. Like I can't be
Yes.
talking about it and not doing it. So
Right.
yeah, this is definitely needed for me right now, so thank you.
Yes. Me too. Me too. It's definitely just as therapeutic for me because you can't be telling people to center themselves from the right of the page. You far right, or you're far left, or you at the bottom. Okay, and you're trying to tell people to center themselves. I mean, you can scream that all you want to, but it makes much more sense if you're a living example of it and if you're demonstrating it. And it's not about getting it right all of the time. Like I said, I was dragging my laptop into the ER, and the words that you spoke, embrace rest right now. You can't, this is what you got to do. It helped me to get into a frame of mind of saying, okay, you know what, for the next 3 days I'm not doing anything. This is just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And some of us, I've had times in the past where I woke up and I had this long list of things that I was going to do on a Saturday after seeing so many clients and being so drained and dealing with all the stuff, the other things, okay, of life. And I'm like, I got this long list of stuff I need to do on a Saturday. Wake up on Saturday and my body's like, no, I
Mhm.
don't want to. No, I just want to sit here. And not even in that, getting the rest that I deserved, that
Mhm.
I'm due, because mentally all day long it's this battle. Hey, you need to get up and do. You're so lazy. Like you can't just lay here all day long. Why are you gonna just sit here? What? How come I can't? Why not? Why can't I just sit here all day long? And so part of centering myself for me, even when I'm sick, is the things that I'm saying it to myself in my mind. Like, okay, you know what, BJ Word? We're not doing anything today. And that's all right.
That's all right.
That's all
Yeah.
right there. I got a million things that I had said that I wanted to do tonight after we record and all of this and all that. And I said, you know what? Your body is saying that you need to just get some rest.
Mhm.
So that's all right. That's what I'm gonna do.
Exactly.
So if your mind is not rested, your body is not gonna really be able to get the rest that it needs. So you got to give it a fair chance,
Mhm.
and embrace that mentally. That is the centering that we are talking about, y'all, is embracing that it is okay to stop. It is okay to take breaks. It is okay to not do anything. And please remember, balance, you don't find balance in life. You have to create it.
Ooh, the myth of balance.
Yes.
Listen.
If there is any balance to be had, you have to create that. You remember those old school little balance beams when we were kids, and you
Uh-huh.
had to take the little things out of this side and until the scales are even. Okay, you're not finding balance. You were creating that. So I'm just saying
Mhm.
that to say that you can't sit there and wait and say, well, as soon as this happens, then I'm gonna be able to do this. As soon as I get to this point, then that point is never going to come. So even in the midst of whatever it is that you have going on, you've got to just take the time for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I was sitting outside one day at a particular spot, and I was in a rocking chair, and I was just rocking back and forth, just enjoying the breeze. I needed some time to myself, and this sister walked by, and she said, I wish I could do that. I wish I had time to do that. And I said, you do.
You do.
And she stopped and she said, you know what? You are so right. I said, yeah. I said, you not gonna find the time to sit out here in this chair. You have to make the time to sit out here in this chair. The time is there. I got the same 24 hours a day that you do. So don't say you wish you could do that. You wish you had time to do that. You do have time. If you make the time, you can sit out here in the chair. She said, I'm gonna take that to heart. I gotta do better. I've got to do better. So it's a narrative
Mhm.
of a long story and that goes back to resisting the idea.
Just reject that idea that you have to
Reject
always
it.
be working and always doing something. It's okay to just say, you know what? No, I'm gonna take this time for me. And I feel like if people don't take anything away from it, because we talked on so many different good points. I mean, we touched on points that could be its own standalone episode, but if nothing else, it's like just know that rest, you are doing something when you're resting. Like
Yes.
like just because they're resting, they're not doing anything. No, you're doing something. You're looking out for you, and it's perfectly okay to take that time for you.
Yes. My therapist says, yes, y'all, I'm a therapist and I have a therapist. Okay. That's a whole nother episode for another day because that's part of centering too. But my therapist says resting is productive.
Mm-hmm.
It's productive.
Absolutely. Without question.
So if
Without
honey, if you the type that you need to put that on your checklist, put it on there. Okay. 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I'm not doing anything. So at least you can feel like you need to feel like you're accomplishing something. You can check that off your list. Okay. Because when you were just saying rejecting this idea of always got to be working, always doing something, always going. Y'all, I'm just saying that sound like a slave master talk. When you when you telling me I need, and I'm not even comparing what we go through to what our ancestors went through, but that idea that I need to be out here from sun up to sundown and I can't stop and I can't take a break. That sound like some old master said to me. That's where that sound like it came from.
Yeah, for me, I guess when I hear that, because I am, just for people, I am in a interracial. My husband is from another country as well, as far as relationship, and just looking at how they prioritize breaks and rests, in other countries. In America, I just think about how we work ourselves to the bone, all in the name of trying to get the American dream. And
Yep.
then I'm looking at these other nations, and they're like, they have it built into their work schedules, like in Spain, for example, where they get like a full hour and a half, 2 hours. A lot of companies, and some
Yes.
people go home and take naps. I'm like, that is
Yes.
so dumb. Like, why can't we emulate that here?
Right.
I think it's just because we have been taught this narrative, that if you're not working, you're not productive. You have to always work in order to achieve a certain level of success.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way we look at success too is important.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
like, you can be successful and take breaks. You can be successful and focus on yourself from time to time. You can be successful and use your PTO.
Yes, you
Again,
can.
use your PTO.
All of it. All
You,
of it. Do
yeah.
you
So
hear me? I don't roll over nothing unless it's me rolling over in the bed. I'm not rolling over anything. You don't even have to worry when they send that little email out. You don't have to worry about me. You ain't got to worry about me because my bank is gonna be at zero. Probably gonna be in the negative. Okay, because I'm using all of mine, all
Exactly.
of it, every sync down to the point. Oh, one, whatever hours. I'm using all my PTO.
Yeah.
Use your PTO, people. They can make it without you. And if you're a mom, especially if you're a single mom,
Yeah.
take those kids to school and don't tell them that you're taking off. You call in that day. And don't let that be a day for you to clean up. Just let that be a day for you to sit around, binge
Mm.
watch your favorite shows, sit in the bathtub, do whatever it is that you want to do. You have all day long while the kids are at school.
Yeah.
Even if are married mom or whatever, or just single, no kids, whatever, use your PTO. That is part of
Yeah.
centering, because trying to just looking at this realistically, there are not enough hours in the day for us to commit 40 hours to a job. And
Mhm.
most of us, we the salaried exempt people who Lord, we fell for that. Um, it's more than 40 hours. We got hoodwinked, okay? And we fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And so it's more than 40 hours. And then you try to have time to dedicate to your family. And then, you're dedicating all that time to your work. You're bringing your work home. And then by the time the weekend comes, if you are exhausted, that's not a good place to try to rest,
Mhm.
because when you get to the point where you're exhausted and burned out, your body's got to fight now.
Mhm.
It's trying to keep
Exactly.
you
Or you
alive.
sleep the whole weekend and you're like, you
Right.
can't even get out of bed because you're so exhausted. Exactly.
Exactly, because you're so exhausted that now you're in survival mode. Okay, now your body is forcing onto you what you would not do. And that's when I said I had that long list of things to do, and I woke up and my body said no. Okay, so that you got to make those times where you are taking those moments to enjoy yourself while you feel good, not just when you're sick. When you're sick, you're not really at rest. Your immune system and all of your systems are on the inside doing a number, honey. They are working. That's how come after you sick, the week after, you can feel so tired and exhausted. Your body's still working. This is like, we got to get it back right. We're trying to establish some equilibrium here. So when you are exhausted and drained, and you're at a point where you have to rest, that's just not, we're not trying to live from one exhausted moment to the next exhausted moment.
Mm.
Okay. We're
Mhm.
we're not trying to live even from one self-care moment to the next self-care moment. We're
Mhm.
trying to establish wellness. And that is what centering is about. It's about, okay, I'm gonna take these 30 minutes every day and sit over here and read this book. I'm just gonna cut these lights off and listen to. I've started doing it in my office, just especially if I have a difficult session. All right, I'm about to put the sign on this door and I'm about to take a minute and sit over here and put some jazz on, dim these lights, and just be for
That's
a
it.
minute. Because when you go all week long, y'all, and then you get to the weekend, and then your mind is like, well, you got 50 things to do. And now you so drained, like you said, you wake up and it's Monday morning and you like, what just happened? What just happened? Or you're going to sleep and you're waking up and you're feeling tired, feeling like a truck ran over you, and you slept 8 hours. That's not, you're not really resting.
Exactly.
Okay. And so, I think centering is all goes as a part of that. And it's so important to do that on a regular basis, not when you at your wits end and now you ain't got no choice.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. So, you know what? I gotta say, I have enjoyed every second of this conversation
Yes.
today. And just for our listeners, this is like our first official episode that we're kicking
Yes.
off. And so, we've had so many conversations around, okay, how are we going to do this? And, what are we going to say? But, at the end of the day, I think because we have so much lived experience and we've just seen so many Black women in particular struggle with some of these issues. I was like, you know what, this is going to come natural for us. So,
Yeah.
what, it feels good to finally, get our foot in the door and say, okay,
Yeah.
kick off this first episode with this topic because I think a lot of Black women will be able to relate to what we're talking
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this was an important topic for the first episode because this is the foundation of everything. If we
about.
come along and we start talking about all these different things and all of these, because we're going to address a whole lot of external stuff and how to deal with these different entities, but it all starts internally, and so it all starts with you being in a good place, you being in a good place mentally and spiritually, and not being uptight and angry. And some of us work ourselves to the point we can't take a joke. We're miserable. And it's hard to be around. And it grieves me and breaks my heart when I see a sister like that, because it's like I understand where she's coming from. You know what I mean? Like, and nobody wants to be that way. And I want to tell a sis, if you just take some more breaks, you wouldn't be so hard to talk to in a conversation. You wouldn't be snapping off on people.
Yeah.
Your kids and your man are tiptoeing around you. They don't know what to say because you're so on edge. Your girlfriends don't know what to say to you because you're just so on edge, and people start backing away. And it hurts me when I see it, because it's like, if you were just really putting yourself first.
Yes.
And making sure that you are okay first, then you would be so much happier. And then some of these external things that come against you, you could deal with it in a whole different way. So yes, this was an amazing, I think, such an important start for the first episode, because centering is everybody's job, it's everybody's responsibility to do. And not only that, it is up to us as sisters to make sure that we keep each other centered. Amen. That we remind, it's like when your slip is hanging, it's up to your sister to tell you, girl, hey, your slip hanging. So it's the same. It's up to your sister to say, when the last time you took a break? Mm-hmm. Hey, when do you have to do that right now? I challenge my friends. They be mad at me. They love me to pieces though. And they challenge me, just like you did. I'm so tired, but I gotta do this right now. Do you? You sure? What's gonna happen if you leave them clothes right there in that basket for 2 more days? They clean. So what's gonna happen if you don't fold them? Because you just told me you were tired. So explain to me, how is the world gonna end if you don't fold it right now? Well, I guess you're right. I'm just gonna go on and sit down. Go and do that then. Go sit down. So I think that's an important part of sisterhood. That is important. An important part of womanhood is holding each other accountable for loving ourselves, because you wouldn't let some man come into your sister's life and just drag her without saying anything, right? Then you can't let your sister be stumping all over herself. You can't let your sister drag herself. You can't let your sister put herself last without at least saying something, tapping her on the shoulder. Same way you would if she had lipstick on her teeth. Then you need to tap her and say, sis, you need to take a break. You've been driving yourself hard. Take a break.
Accountability is key. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for all of our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this first episode. You can subscribe on YouTube and then your favorite podcast platform, whatever you use, whether that be Spotify, Google Play, or whichever your preferred podcast method is. We do have it uploaded to various channels. And you know what, BJ, I'm feeling good about it. Like, I feel like, hopefully we get to actually interact with people too at some point and say, hey, is this helpful? Are you useful? So we could just have that opportunity to connect with people and see like if this is truly making a difference, which I really feel like it will.
I know it will. And absolutely, even for our YouTube fam, for those that will watch this on YouTube, drop us a comment. Hit that subscribe button, make sure you turn the notifications on, but drop us a comment. What have been your struggles? What has been your journey with centering yourself? Do you put yourself first? Answer some of those questions. Let's get a dialogue going, even in the comment section. We will respond back. So, this is just the beginning, y'all. We are so loaded and we so are full. Ready. And I wish I don't want to give too much away. Okay.
we got topics for years, like not days, on and on. Like, yes, we got to talk about this. Yeah.
We are about to go there. So grab your sister by the hand and be like, girl, and y'all remember this, the healing process can hurt sometimes. All right.
Come on, growth is a necessary process and it's not always fun. That's
It's
it.
not.
No.
It's not. And any good therapist will tell you, sometimes I'm gonna make you mad. I tell my clients that all the time, but you are never gonna be able to say I lied to you though. But I'm gonna challenge your thinking. And MJ comes from a DEI standpoint, and it's not a pretty world all the time.
No,
So
I make people uncomfortable for a living. Like that's part of what I have
exactly,
to challenge certain beliefs. So yeah, that's why we
exactly.
perfect duo.
And exactly, and that is what we're here for. That is what we're bringing. So y'all just rock with us, roll with us, and I believe that through this, spoken word, we're gonna tap into these unspoken issues, and collective healing is what's gonna take place.
That's it. All right. See you all
All
next.
right, see y'all next time.